Imagine two people, same city, same job, same salary. One of them, 10 years from now, has paid off debt, owns property, and has money quietly growing while they sleep. The other one? They're still living paycheck to paycheck, wondering where all the money went, feeling like they're running on a treadmill that never stops. Same income, completely different outcomes. Here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say out loud. The gap between those two people is not talent. It is not luck. It is not even how much they earn. It's 7 very specific habits. Habits so common, so normal, so deeply baked into everyday life that most people never even notice they're doing them. And here's what makes this scary. These habits don't feel like mistakes. They feel like the obvious thing to do. They feel like common sense. That's what makes them so dangerous. So today, we're going to walk through all 7 of them, not to make you feel bad, but because once you can see them clearly, you can't unsee them. And that moment of clarity, that's where everything starts to change. Now, here comes the first habit: spending to feel rich instead of building to become rich. Let's start with the most seductive trap of all. There's a psychological phenomenon called signaling. Humans are wired to show status. We wear it, drive it, and post it. And the modern world has made it cheaper than ever to look wealthy, even if your bank account tells a completely different story. The new phone, the luxury car on a financing plan, the designer outfit bought on a credit card. These things feel like rewards. They feel deserved. But here's the cruel irony. The people who actually have wealth, most of them don't spend like that. Study after study on millionaires shows they drive used cars, live in modest homes, and avoid flashy purchases. They don't spend money to look rich. They invest money to become rich. There's a simple rule to remember here. Money spent on looking wealthy makes you poorer. Money invested quietly makes you wealthier. Every time you buy something to impress people, ask yourself one question. Does this build my future, or does it just perform it? That brings us to the second habit: lifestyle inflation, earning more, saving nothing. Now here's one that sneaks up on almost everyone. You work hard, you get a raise, and naturally, you upgrade your life a little. Nicer apartment, better car, more eating out. You deserve it, right? This is called lifestyle inflation, and it's one of the quietest wealth killers there is. The problem is not treating yourself. The problem is when every single increase in income is immediately absorbed by an equal increase in spending. So your income goes up by $500 a month, but somehow, by the end of the month, you still have nothing left over. Psychologists call this hedonic adaptation, the human tendency to quickly get used to new comforts and then want more. You upgrade your apartment, and within 3 months, it's just normal. The happiness fades, but the bigger rent bill stays. The wealthy don't just earn more. They make sure the gap between what they earn and what they spend keeps growing over time. That gap is what gets invested. That gap is where wealth is actually built. A simple habit. Every time your income increases, commit to saving or investing at least 50% of that new amount before adjusting your lifestyle. Let your savings grow faster than your spending. Here comes the third habit: treating debt like a normal part of life. Here's something that modern consumer culture has done brilliantly and devastatingly at the same time it has normalized debt. Buy now, pay later. 0% interest for 12 months. Easy monthly installments. These aren't conveniences. They're traps disguised as convenience. When debt becomes normal, the psychological weight of owing money disappears. You stop feeling the pain of the purchase because you don't feel it immediately. You feel it in small doses, month after month, for years. And here's the math that most people never sit down to look at. Consumer debt, especially credit cards, can carry interest rates of 20%, 25%, sometimes higher. That means if you carry a balance, the things you bought are quietly becoming more and more expensive every single month. Think of it this way. If you put $1,000 on a high-interest credit card and only make minimum payments, you could end up paying back $1,600 or more, and it might take years. You paid extra for the privilege of not having the money up front. The habit to build instead. Treat debt as a financial emergency, not a lifestyle tool. Consumer debt should be eliminated as aggressively as possible. It is the opposite of an investment. It is negative wealth. Now, the fourth habit. Having no budget and calling it freedom. A lot of people avoid budgeting because it feels restrictive. It feels like putting yourself on a financial diet, and nobody likes diets. But here's a reframe that changes everything. A budget is not about restriction, it's about intention. Without a budget, money just flows out. Little purchases here, subscriptions there, a spontaneous dinner, a quick impulse buy online. None of them feel like much in the moment. But at the end of the month, the account is empty, and you can't explain where it went. Researchers actually have a name for this money blindness. We dramatically underestimate what we spend on small, frequent purchases. A budget gives every dollar a job before the month begins. It makes your spending intentional rather than accidental. And here's the thing. People who budget don't feel more restricted. Studies consistently show they actually feel more in control and less financially stressed. You don't need a complicated spreadsheet. Start with something simple. Track every dollar for 30 days. Just observe. What you find will almost certainly surprise you. Here comes the fifth habit, keeping all your money in a savings account and calling it investing. This one is subtle, and it trips up a lot of people who actually think they're being responsible. Having money in a savings account feels safe. It feels smart. And yes, saving is absolutely better than spending. But here's the problem most people don't realize until it's too late. Savings accounts lose value over time. How? Inflation. If inflation is running at 15% a year and your savings account is paying you 4%, you are quietly, slowly getting poorer. Your money looks the same on paper, but what it can actually buy shrinks every year. The wealthy understand something fundamental. Idle money is losing money. Real wealth building requires putting money into assets that grow stocks, index funds, real estate, businesses, assets that compound over time. Compounding is one of the most powerful forces in personal finance. When your money earns returns, and then those returns earn returns, growth accelerates in a way that feels almost unbelievable. $5,000 invested at 12% annual returns doesn't just double over 20 years. It grows to over $48,000 without you adding another dollar. Saving protects you. Investing grows you. You need both, but you cannot confuse one for the other. Let's talk about the sixth habit. Avoiding financial education and calling it not my thing. Here's a habit that doesn't cost a single dollar to fix, yet it keeps millions of people stuck. Most people weren't taught how money works. School didn't cover it. Parents often didn't either. So somewhere along the way, people developed a quiet belief. Finance is complicated. It's for experts. It's not for someone like me. And so they opt out. They avoid learning about investing, about taxes, about interest rates, about assets and liabilities. They outsource their financial future to nobody, really, because they haven't even done that. Here's the thing about financial education. Every hour you spend learning about money pays you back for the rest of your life. Understanding compound interest doesn't just apply once. Understanding how inflation erodes savings doesn't just apply once. These are concepts that silently work for you or against you every single day, whether you understand them or not. The person who avoids financial education doesn't escape finance. They just navigate it blind. And blind navigation in a world designed to take your money is an expensive way to live. 15 minutes a day, a book, a YouTube video, a podcast. The information exists. The only question is whether you'll choose to use it. These brings us to the final habit, the seventh habit, having no financial goals and drifting through life. The final habit is perhaps the most invisible one of all. Ask most people what their financial goal is, and they'll say something like, I just want to be comfortable, or I want to have enough. But enough is not a number. Comfortable is not a plan. These are feelings, not targets. And without a specific target, there's no strategy. Without a strategy, there are no intentional decisions. Without intentional decisions, money just flows wherever the current takes it, usually towards spending, not saving. There's a concept in psychology called goal gradient effect. The closer people get to a clear goal, the harder they push toward it. But you can only experience that effect if the goal is specific enough to feel real. I want to save $20,000 in 18 months for a rental property deposit as a goal. It creates a monthly target. It creates a reason to say no to unnecessary spending. It creates a direction for every financial decision. I want to be financially comfortable someday is a wish. The wealthy treat their financial life like a business. Businesses have goals, budgets, quarterly reviews, and long-term plans. They know exactly where they are, where they want to go, and what milestones they need to hit. Your financial life deserves the same seriousness. The deeper insight. Here's what ties all 7 of these habits together, and this is the part that most people miss. None of these habits are about money. Not really. They're about psychology. They're about identity. They're about how you see yourself in relation to money. The person who spends to look rich believes that wealth is something you perform. The person who avoids budgets believes money is too stressful to confront. The person who has no financial goals doesn't believe a different financial future is genuinely available to them. Changing your bank account starts with changing your beliefs. Changing your beliefs starts with changing your daily habits. And changing your habits starts with one simple, uncomfortable step: awareness. You can't fix what you can't see. Practical takeaways. So what do you actually do with this? Start here. Pick the one habit from this list that hit the closest to home. Just one. Don't try to fix everything at once. That's a recipe for overwhelm and doing nothing. If it's lifestyle inflation the next time you get a raise, commit to investing half of it before changing your lifestyle. If it's debt, list every debt you have with its interest rate and attack the highest rate one first. If it's savings versus investing, open an investment account this week, not eventually. This week. If it's financial education, pick one book or one channel and spend 15 minutes a day learning. Small, consistent actions taken over years create extraordinary outcomes. That's not motivation speak. That's mathematics. Closing. Here's a thought to leave you with. Most people spend more time planning a holiday than they do planning their financial future. They'll research flights for 3 hours, but never spend 3 hours understanding how their money actually works. The 7 habits we talked about today aren't rare. They're not edge cases. Walk into any room of people, and most of them are quietly living every single one of these, not because they're irresponsible, but because nobody ever showed them a different way. Now you've seen them. What you do next is entirely up to you. But the person sitting across from you 10 years from now, the comfortable one, the secure one, the one who built something real, they made a decision. A small one. At some point, just like right now. The question is whether that person is going to be you. If you found this valuable, share it with someone you care about. Not to lecture them, just because the best financial decisions are often made when someone you trust shows you something you didn't know you needed to see. See you in the next one. That brings us to the very end. And to you, yes, you, having stayed with us to this very end, I say thank you. And one more thing that is very important. Remember to subscribe. Comment your own opinion about these for others to learn, like, and share to your friends and colleagues. See you in the next one.